Hey, what's up, guys? We're here today. We're doing the first Boz Family Chiropractic Show. We're excited.
Oh yeah!
So we're here with Dr. Boz. We're here with our new guy, Dr. Aaron. Today, we're going to be talking to Dr. Boz a lot about tell me what we're talking about today.
Today is going to be what is chiropractic, because a lot of people out there, utilization has gone up over the years, but there's still a lot of people who don't know. So we're going to give our rendition as it is out in the field, and as most people know it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and maybe uncommonly some deeper stuff that you guys don't know, but hopefully we'll learn something today.
So let's jump right in. So what are the main things that chiropractors treat, and how do they do it?
Well, chiropractic, and I think Dr. Aarons, you can probably chime in here if you'd like and add a few things if I miss. But chiropractic is basically it's a kind of a paradigm, a wellness frame of mind, and it's a synergy of a bunch of things such as musculoskeletal health, nervous system, and ergonomics and function. Ergonomics, of course, being the study and the appropriateness of a setting, whether it be job or home, to a person's body and their physique. So for optimal function, and so they don't injure themselves. And obviously, as chiropractors, we want people injuring themselves. We want to get them feeling good and working ideally. So what do we treat? Anything that is functional, number one. And obviously, most people out there understand chiropractors to be doctors that would treat. I've got neck pain, I've got back pain, I've got a headache, I've got sciatica. Of course, sciatica is nerve pain, a pinch in a nerve in a lower back, which would cause radicular pain down a leg or another. But those are the big things. All right. What a lot of people don't understand that chiropractic can treat is a lot of overall functional issues. Not functional issues, but wellness issues. Just things that we take for granted. For example, like our senses. For example, everything in our body. Let's digress a moment here. Everything in our body is pretty much controlled by the nervous system, which is your brain and your spinal cord. Your spinal cord, of course, exits the spine, which is that protective sheath. Bony protective sheath that protects it from injury, of course. All those nerves that go through the spinal cord, or that go through the vertebral column, go to end organs, whether it's a literal organ in the viscera of our body, or if it's a muscle in one of our extremities, whether it be the legs or the arms, or a sense organ, anything in our heads, and our systems, like our endocrine system, our respiratory system, our the list goes on. So that's kind of, what doesn't chiropractic treat eventually, all right? So that's kind of, not in a nutshell, but that's a very general topic right there.
And I think a lot of people would be surprised that it's such a long answer to that question, what does chiropractic treat? Because we are sitting here by a spine, and most people will think of chiropractors as a spine or a back doctor. But the whole reason we have that spine is to really protect the spinal cord or the nervous system that you were talking about. And everybody understands these days, because of all the commercials, with how many bars do you have on your cell phone. We need to be connected, and that's how the body feels too. We have to have these connections, and it's great that we have 24 bones in our body because we can move, but there's so many places this can be pinched on, and then depending where that nerve goes, lots of things can be affected.
I'm so glad you brought up pinching, because you can get the nerve pinched in the spine by one of your herniated discs. You can get it pinched as it exits the spine, in your lateral foramen. But your upper extremity, everyone's heard of your carpal tunnel. You have 42 tunnels in your arm, and another, I think it's 21 tunnels in your legs. There's so many different places that your nerves can get pinched, and if anything that's going to, interrupt that flow, it can cause pain, it can cause numbness, it can cause tons and tons of other issues down the road as well.
And I thought it was just, carpal tunnel or tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, but yeah, there's that many tunnels even just in our arm.
So many different things. Yes, so it isn't what can chiropractic help, it's what can't you help with. Obviously, our number 6930556 is the best way to reach Boz Family Chiropractic. One of us gentlemen is here to help you pretty much every day of the week. But just to call for a question sometimes, there is no stupid question. We've all had that. There's no stupid questions. Call. Our front desk girls are well educated on what we treat. So they're expecting some of the crazy questions that you might think are but aren't. So feel free to call in, and you'd be surprised at what we can help you with.
Even on Facebook, we're the ones that respond to you guys on Facebook. So if you have a question, that you're talking to a doctor.
Absolutely.
But okay, so we know what we treat. We know who we're treating. So how do we treat it? How are we fixing all this stuff for all these good people out here?
Okay, well, I can break it down a little bit by, basically the things that are involved in speaking of the spine, okay? As Dr. Aaron said here with the spine, we've got these nerve roots exiting the spine at every one of the 24 levels that he had talked about before. There's a possibility that one or more of these can be impinged, and as Dr. Thompson had said, it can be by a disc herniation, which I don't know if you guys can see this particular one, but it's a little thinner. When we have a disc herniation, that material between the intervertebral bodies has either got compressed or blown out or torn, in which case it's all going down. It's coming down on that nerve root. So that's one of the key and kind of the easiest things to detect as far as, okay, where is this issue coming with? We're going to get into probably at our next session, our next show, as to what you can expect at our office, what to go through, where we'll get into a little bit more of the diagnostic tools that we use to pinpoint, because and I don't want to get carried away and off tangent here, but there are a lot of tools that we can readily pick up on as doctors of chiropractic. The big one that we utilize at our office is radiological findings. So we take x-rays, whether it's of your lower back or your thoracic spine or the cervical spine, the neck. And we're skilled at reading x-rays, and obviously for both pathological things that we are concurrently talking with medical doctors about, and just for what things we can explain to you guys out there, what's going on. And it's really easy to see. We call it your spinal blueprints, basically. So what are we looking at when we put all this stuff together? Impingements of nerves, whether it's something out of alignment just because your posture has been contorted due to bad posture on a regular basis, or some sort of injury, which chiropractors oftentimes see car accident victims. Sometimes we see people that were hurt lifting things on the job, and it doesn't have to be on the job either. I mean, this time of year specifically, we're seeing people that are just getting out, especially if you're in Western New York. Everyone's just getting out and doing their yard work
After
now.
the
So
rain.
yeah, after the rain, we think it's done. So
That first swing of a golf club,
exactly. So yeah, it's not just work around the house. But so we're going to get into the area, and we're going to try to relieve nerve interference by actually using the vertebral bodies and the spinous processes, the transverse processes as levers to actually move your spine back into position, removing nerve interference, and also in reducing improper or unbalanced muscle loading. Because say, for example, you've got the entire spine swung to one side here. These muscles are getting slackened, these are getting overstretched. And your body doesn't necessarily know to go right back into position by itself. There's things you can do to help it, and we'll get into a lot of these. Stretching is the big one, of course. There's a lot of other things you can do.
Which is interesting when you talk about a pinched nerve can not only cause pain, it can cause muscle weakness, but it can cause muscle spasm, and it has to move but get back to its right place. And it's sort of like, I think of my GPS. It has to recalibrate all the time. It's getting me home, but it says, okay, you're a little bit off. You're driving on the wrong side of the road sometimes, it tells me. And I'm like, no, I'm driving on the right side of the road. But it's just, you got to reset it.
Yes.
And sometimes our body is like that too. Yes, we have bones and muscles, but it's the nervous system that's controlling everything. And when we move, it says where home should be. And sometimes our body needs a little help. Just some stretching or just some muscle relaxer doesn't really necessarily help the nervous system.
Exactly. What else have you seen, either of you guys, whoever would like to respond, as far as things that you've seen in your practice, your daily practice here, that can cause these offsetting of the nervous system, the spine, like soft tissues, muscles, just to kind of give you triggers? What have you guys seen a lot of lately?
Well, actually, we had 2 new patients this week
Yeah.
who were moms with little children, 11
Oh.
months old, year and a half old. So they've gotten through the pregnancy and their bodies has changed a little bit, but now they have to be very mobile. They have to be bending, lifting a lot, and these car seat carriers that weigh more than the kids, and they're wrestling this in and out of the car. When really the lower back and the sacroiliac joints that have had to deal with the pregnancy and the birth now have just not really come back the way that it's supposed to. And you have some large nerves down here that cause a lot of pain, and they don't
Oh,
get
like
a break
over-
from the little kids. So
Yeah, and like over the 9 months of the gestation, yeah, things kind of
the ligaments
unrevert.
actually change and soften.
Yes.
So now that's tightening up, but again, it has to be in that original home position, and it's just it's almost like an overuse now, too much bending, and
Mhm.
it's to the point they have some pain that's really getting their attention.
Absolutely.
But we can align the pelvis in ways that help the body, which is doing the healing. We're just helping get the body back to the home position.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So that was this week.
So yeah, there you go. So I had a couple patients that their definition of exercise is a little bit different than most. So most people think of exercise as you're going to the gym, you're lifting heavy things. And so when you go to the gym and lift heavy things, you know that, when you're in the gym, you're breaking down your muscles, like making these little micro tears in the muscles, so that afterwards, when you're eating healthy foods, you build it back up, it gets stronger, and the next time you can do more and more and more and more exercise and activity. But if you, even if you don't go to the gym, doing stuff around the house, doing yard work, doing your spring cleaning, stuff like that is exercise if you haven't been doing similar activities for a very long time. So even though I've done this before, this isn't a big deal, I shouldn't be sore from this, you're making these little micro tears in your muscle. And so there's this phenomenon called delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. And so you're not going to feel the pain until 2 days later. And so because you didn't feel the pain right when you lifted up that box, well, it wasn't from lifting, I didn't feel it right away, but you felt it like a couple days later. That's still caused by all that hard work that you did earlier on. So there's some very traditional things that we do to treat muscle soreness, but the number one thing is we want to make sure that when you have these kind of daily simple things, like obviously, if it's an ergonomic issue, if you're carrying on kids, stuff that's totally unavoidable, you need more of a maintenance schedule. But if it's stuff that you're doing around the house, it's like a one-off, and it's not that bad. So we want to show you different kinds of things that you can do on your own to make sure that you know how to get yourself out of pain when those things are going on. And if you got a little bit left over, come on in, we'll get those leftovers for you.
Yeah, what Dr. Thompson touched on here is really big too, because it's not just the adjustments and what we do in the office, it's the knowledge that we also give you guys. And we've got, endless amounts of information, am I right? I mean, we've got a lot to say and everything, and it's really practically good advice. It's
every
not,
time people are telling me, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
so overwhelmed, or I learned something new every time I come, write it down on your phone. I tell them, just get out your phone, we're going to write this thing down.
Yeah.
Here's the next thing that we're going to learn today.
the high-tech stuff we got nowadays, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can keep yourself a wellness list. Lists are good.
And with the delay in feeling pain,
Yeah.
it's sort of interesting. You would think our body would be better at like having that red light that the car has, that right away, oh, you're doing something that might hurt yourself. But some of us, we see in patients, they actually have a very high pain threshold through all they've been through because they've had repeated injuries. And unfortunately, you might say that's a good thing to have a high pain threshold, but it can be a bad thing because they're actually doing more damage.
Yes.
So it is important that we try to pay attention to our bodies because we're all so busy, and it's easy to think, oh, I just don't have time for this right now. Maybe I'll wait and see if I get a little better. If we can help the body get back towards its, again, I'll call it that home position, where structurally we are strong and the nerves can work 100% signal, we heal faster and then don't generate or heal with an adaptation.
Yes.
That now you move in a funny way. A good example of that is somebody has to walk around with a cast on an ankle for several weeks. They get that off, and their ankle is healed. They take the orthopedist does another x-ray, it's healed, but they still walk almost like they have that boot on because their brain, their cerebellum, that unconscious part of their brain still thinks they need to walk that way, and that needs to be reset.
Yeah. And and reset is a good, and I love what you touched on there, because I mean, this machine, and it is a machine, I mean, it's a living machine, our bodies, was created to work ideally. So when it does find that home position, as you touched on, Dr. Aarons, that is where we feel the most happy, and that is what we are here to do, whether we do it by our hands or what we tell you to do on your own. That's really, I mean, and anyone who's been, for all you patients out there that already have come to us and know and understand all these benefits, we're discussing. Number one, we hope you learned something more today, and number two, you're definitely familiar with the truths of this, and there's probably a lot of head shaking going on. Yes.
For anyone out here who hasn't met Dr. Aarons yet, you know he knows his stuff. You know he wouldn't be here if he didn't.
Yeah.
So come
He's part
in,
of our team, yeah.
give him
He
a
knows.
try, and yeah, we hope to see you guys soon. So hopefully, whoever is still with us at the 15-minute mark, thank you so much for sticking with us.
Thank you, and have a wonderful Memorial Day from all of us docs here at BFC. All right.
Very cool.
Enjoy.
Have a great day, guys.
All right.